And we are now recording.
Welcome, everybody. I'm going to wait a couple minutes for people to join the room, and then we'll get started. You want to check the chat and see if you can type in the chat. I usually kind of like to have interaction. So thank you, MC. Michael Conlin. Bisbee, Arizona. Interesting. Hi, Gail. You're welcome. Oh, hello, Bridget from Sacramento. All right, fellow Bridget. Tracy's from LA. Okay. So I'm assuming because of the title, you're interested in looking at slide design and how you can make them better. That's what I'm going to talk about, but also touch in on, you know, how do you connect with your audience? How do you engage your audience? How do you keep their attention? And then when your audience walks away, how do they remember so much more than if you didn't put the effort that you did to your slides? All right, Nicholas uses a lot of PowerPoint slides in his classes. Very good. You must be a teacher. Cool. Presenting to VPs. Yeah, that's important. Are you going to be able to keep your credibility and still present? And I think it's so important to get away from this proverbial way of presenting slides that everybody does, thinking that that's how it's done because that's what they see everyone else do. But there actually is a better way, and I'm going to talk more about that. So let's see, it is, I'm going to restart my clock here. It's a couple minutes after 3, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. So welcome to 5 design secrets to vastly improve your slides. We're going to look at how to create amazing, engaging slides that leave your audience wanting more and feeling glad they came. And we're going to look at that pervasive, boring slide, and I'm going to show you examples of before and afters so you can kind of see. I think most people have never seen what a good slideshow looks like. And so what I love to do is when I present, I like to show them what's possible. And I also speak about how I like to create the Hollywood effect. So let's get into the talk here. So this is my part where I love interaction and engagement. So say yes if you want to create your next presentation effectively. Go ahead and put yes in the chat. All right. We got lots of yeses there. Cool. So say yes if you want to have more credibility and authority on your next talk. Absolutely. And finally, say yes if you want higher conversions and accolades after you present. Yes on all fronts. Well, after working with my client, Helen Chang, on her slides, she made $72,000 on her talk from stage in only 30 minutes. Do you want to know how I helped her? Well, stay tuned, and in a moment, I'm going to share with you how I did it. So like I said earlier, I picture a world where all slideshows are like a Hollywood movie. And when you hear that, you're thinking, oh, I haven't seen a slideshow like that, or most slideshows I've seen are not that. And I come from an age where when people had slideshows, like at home, they would show their vacation pictures, and we'd all groan because who wants to watch someone else's vacation pictures unless you were there or in the pictures? That same thing happens in the boardrooms and in school. Teachers are creating slides thinking that this is going to engage the students, and it actually puts them to sleep. And you'll learn more about that in a minute. In fact, I have proof because I had 2 interns that worked for me for a summer. and they were juniors in high school and they were moving into their senior year. And I showed them what a good slide looks like. And I taught them slide design. And then when they started their senior year, they would text me and go, oh my God, my teacher's got these boring slides. It's all this green text on an orange background. It's giving me a headache. And I would text her back and say, get to work. But, you know, it's true. These students do have this high engagement, and it's a low threshold of catching their attention, because think of swipe left, swipe right on your phone. You don't have a lot of time to catch their attention. So I get all of my reference from, you know, television and Hollywood movies. So I'll share more about that. And I have a question, like, wouldn't you love it if you loved your slides? I mean, what would it take for you to love that? So I'm a graphic designer. I've trained, I got a top college degree in art, and I've done package design, award-winning package design. I've done flyers and trade show graphics, product packaging, and more flyers, and then also landing pages, websites, things like that. But it wasn't always that way. When I was in 5th grade, I really saw how much I loved artwork, and I would sit in my room for hours and draw. And at school, we had art class, and I was like, this is a lot of fun. I love this. Is my favorite part. And they had this contest, and I was like, oh, I love art contests. And I came home and I showed my mom that I got 2nd place, and I knew she would be so proud. I had no idea my father would say, you'll never make money as an artist. I was devastated. I was crushed. It's like, how could he not get my passion? And so I made a choice right then and there that I'm going to commit and prove him wrong. So I got good grades in school. I got a college degree in art, and my first job out of college was working for an art director, and I learned the ropes of graphic design in the real world. Second job was working for an event company, and that was where I learned slide design. So they don't teach slide design in school. So most people who have slides done by their graphic designers think they're okay. And I'm here to tell you, those graphic designers have no training in what works on a slide inside a ballroom, inside a boardroom. There's some distinctions to connect that together. And what you're going to see is probably a lot different than what you're used to. So just keep an open mind, and I'll share with you. So I've worked a lot of live events over 30 years. And in working these live events, this is in Hollywood for a gala evening. I would run their computer. So I was responsible for making sure the slides hit the screen and that the right deck was in and that we're advancing properly. And so I got to see the effects of these slides on the audience. And, you know, it's fun stuff. You know, I've traveled around the world. I've got to meet a lot of people. And for most of the time I worked there, I got very little requests to help them fix their slides. They already came in with their decks, so there was nothing I can do. I just had to project what they gave me. On a rare occasion, they would say, Bridget, can you fix this up? Can you make it better? And that's when I loved it. You know, I was like, oh, I can make this so much better. I won awards again, like I said, in graphic design, logo design, slide design, websites. And this is a small sample of some of the clients I've worked with. And, you know, I just want to say thank you for being here today. And I love groups of people that are like-minded and really want to look at, like, is there a better way? You know, how can we make this different? And I just want to thank SCORE too for giving us this platform that we could share our knowledge and share our expertise with you. And just see, these are a few of the slides that tells you more about SCORE. And in the past year, they created 269 new businesses, over 3,900 new jobs, 25,000 chapters, services, and 4,000 plus mentoring sessions. So a mentoring session is someone you can reach out to, and it's a no charge mentoring. My mentor helped me with really deciding what is the target product that I need to serve my clients that will really have me stand out from the rest. And before I met him, I was doing graphic design. There's tons of graphic designers out there. He says, you do amazing slides. You need to focus on that. And so in the last 5 years, I've been really working on that. So, you know, reach out to SCORE, get a mentor. If you're in business and you're wondering how I can do certain things, or if you're struggling a little bit, these mentors are amazing. And they've got many to choose from. So don't shortchange yourself. Be brave, go talk to them, because they're only there to help. Okay. And again, here's the phone number to reach out and the email. And then just a shout out to my buddy, John Pietro. He's my mentor. He was a former marketing executive for Wendy's when they coined the phrase, "Where's the beef?" But he's also worked with Coca-Cola and many other companies. And he's tells it like it is. Sometimes you might not like what he says, but he's right, because I'd walk away going, scratching my head. And it's like, no, I'm going to listen to him. I'm going to apply what he said. And I'm really glad I did. So, so enough about me. Let's talk about you and how we can transform your slides to be compelling, engaging, and fun. And I'm going to tell you how you can take your talk and convey 1,000 more words per slide than you can say alone. And we're going to look at how we can touch the brain to retain more information from a visual sense. It's that limbic messaging, okay? It's that association of the limbic system, and that is what impacts the memory and controls emotions and arousal. And that's what's going to have them remember more of what you said when you have those impacting visuals. Okay, so limbic messaging also talks to the creativity. And I believe we're all creative. We all have the ability to create. And when you can tap into that, you can really get that emotion out, get that feeling out to connect with your audience. So an example, I used to work the cardiology conference down in San Diego for 12 years. And it was a doctor's conference, surgery for cardiologists. And all their slides were boring. They seemed to pass around the same slide deck to every other doctor, blue background, white and yellow text, hard to read, too small. And they thought it was okay. And then there was this one doctor who got standing room only, 800 people in the audience, standing around the doors. And he spoke about the new technologies. But what made it amazing was not only the subject matter, but what he was talking about as far as all the new technologies in medicine for their field. And his slides were amazing. When I loaded his deck, I looked at it and was like, oh my God, this is beautiful. And I have no idea what he's talking about. And that to me told me this is going to be a great slideshow. When you see their slides and you can't understand what they're saying, it's perfect, because you need them to talk to them. Okay. You don't want to create slides that has everything on it so that when you hand it out later, it makes sense. You want to separate the two. All right. So he had a slide up like this, very simple, a map of the US. And then he goes, this is where all the McDonald's is in the US. And then he said, and this is where all the heart disease is in the US. So what did your brain just do? Did it kind of map on the similar areas wherever there was fast food, heart disease got bigger? I show this one to show the comparison, but he didn't even have to show this one. He was making the correlation, and it was just like, ooh, wow, oh, I didn't know that, Here's another one, and I call this a limbic message because it has human hands. So when we look at a picture, we look at faces, or we look at the eyes, and we look at the arms and the hands and the body, and what are they doing? And in microseconds, we're determining what's happening in the picture. And like I said, a picture's worth 1,000 words. Would you like to have a gift? And I look at that and I was like, wow, I bet there's something expensive in there. So I just want to show you just the impact of what a great image can do for you. So my commitment is to abolish the boring slide and to create a win-win experience for you and your audience. And what I talk about is, what are the stepping stones to get you across that river, the river to success? And so my stepping stones are the wow factor. We want to generate that wow factor. And we want to discover the wow in your business. And when we discover that, then we can bring out that wow factor. And really, you have the wow factor when someone says, oh my gosh, I need that now. Okay. And then the next one is connections. Visual connections help you connect with your audience. And what you show makes or breaks that connection. And without that connection, it will be you'll be unable to convert them, to whatever you're selling or motivating. And then finally, conversions for business to thrive. You need that conversion. It helps you grow and transform and break through. And when your business is rocking it, it allows you to help more people. So with these 3 stepping stones, you get higher sales and impact. So my promise today is to go through the 5 steps of my design secrets. So number 1 is to keep it simple. I mean, really, it's that simple. The next one is get clear on your outcome. And I'll go into detail on that. And then the fun one is, how do we achieve the Hollywood effect? And then number 4 is avoid all that text on the slides. And you're going to say, well, how will I know what to say, or how will I remember? We'll talk about that. And then finally, find great images. Okay. So first of all, let's keep it simple. And what I mean by that is no white backgrounds, or minimize the white backgrounds. You've seen a few slides in the beginning here. The only slides that had white backgrounds were the score slides. So we've seen all the slides that look like this. I didn't mean to bash score, but that's what they gave me. But what happens is our eyes go to the light. And so if the light is the background, we have to conjugate the dark letters on the white. So it's like a brain twist, okay? And we have to conjugate each letter, like the H in here, the E, the R, the E here. Okay, now I got here, A, whole. So can you imagine doing that with every little word until your brain is just fried? After about 10 minutes, you go brain dead. And in our industry, we call it the eye chart. I like to relate it to, you got stopped by the cops in the middle of the night and they're shining a flashlight in your eye and you're trying to look for your license. It's like, it's shocking. It's abrupt. Okay. So here's a slide I found online, and it looks like they found an image online and they didn't even put it in the center of the slide. But I'm like, how can I make this much better? So go full frame with the image. That's a great graphic. I just enlarged that graphic, filled the frame from top to bottom in the right, and then took black color, because that dark color, is nice because it's the body color. And then I put the text in that golden color. So you see a very congruent slide, but it's so much easier to read. It's so much easier on your eyes and your brain, and it engages them. It gives them that, ooh. Here's another one. I mean, this is not a bad slide, but does it say anything about hot seats? I was like, yeah, we have hot seats at the end of this, and it's 10 minutes each. I'm like, I'm not too excited about that. So I said, you need a picture. And so when I gave him this, he was like blown away. First of all, he says, I don't need a picture of a hot seat. And I said, you do. And there was a chair on fire, but I thought that's too literal. What I love about this is it's like this big, comfy leather chair that you see at, those swanky hotel lobbies. And you could just sit in it and melt. And then it's surrounded by this desolate land and these impending storms. And the feeling is comfort and tension. And isn't that what a hot seat is? If you're not familiar with a hot seat, it's kind of like, yeah, I want to go, I want to learn, I want to get feedback, but then because sometimes I want to hear what the coach says. So there's that tension involved. Here's a title slide for a speaker that helps people get on stage. And I saw this and I'm like, oh my gosh, this can be so much better. So we took her colors, we took the darkest color and made it the background color. We ghosted back their logo really big, so you can see just a very fainted E for their Encore Elite events. And then the golden color stands out for the title, and then her name and a nice picture. And then, what creates the wow factor? Well, slides that aren't a bunch of bullets help. So I tell, please, under no circumstances, use bullets, because I think bullets kill. And so if you look at this slide, this is a bulleted slide. It even has a bullets on the left. And this is their, they call it their offer stack, right? So it's what they're offering. They're telling the total value, and they're listing each price of each one that's worth. And what drives me crazy is the numbers aren't aligned on the right. I can't really add them up. I can't really see. And so I get too jumbled. And also that speaker needs to speak the gradient in the colors, just kind of like recede in the background. So it's kind of hard to read. So again, we redesigned her deck and we gave her a golden background for this one instead of the purple background, just this little kind of wake them up and make it pop. And each line item is tied with a little limbic visual, just to kind of remember, with monthly hot seats, so we show a calendar, a crush it from the stage checklist, Facebook group. So you could see just little images that just kind of give it a little more oomph to it. Here's another slide I got from a client. I'm just shaking my head. I'm going, how? I don't know. What would we do different? Well, I'd say go full frame with the image. We don't need all the bullets. You could just speak the bullets. And then I took the title and put it down at the bottom. because our eyes are going to go towards their eyes and it's more close to the top. So if that title was on top, it would cut off their forehead and it would kind of impinge our view of their heads, because we go from left to right, we go to their eyes and we see what they're looking at and that kind of thing. So it's just so much better. And then this was a client of mine who was a former CFO of Microsoft. And I said, he gave me a list of bullets and I said, let's put him on Post-it notes on a table, because he's going to talk about, it's like the titles of the little sections he's talking about. And so what I did was I brought up a picture that told a story. Okay. And then I put the bullets in the corner as Post-it notes. And this one told the story of how one of his people in the finance department discovered a report and ran over to sales and said, hey, you need to call everyone on this list and ask them why they didn't renew, and then ask them to renew. And just that little suggestion, they made, I think, $3 million or $10 million. I think it was $10 million in like 3 months. Yeah, that's right. 3 months, $10 million. And, you know, finance usually doesn't do that. Finance ignores sales. They just throw reports at them and say, here, deal with it. They never coach them or they never mentor them. And so it's a powerful talk. It's really powerful talk. And to give it some images and visuals that are different just really makes it that much more appealing and interesting. Here's another one. Goal is to stay in faith. You can't be halfway. And then she has a bulleted list. I was like, well, how about this? The goal is to stay in faith. You can't be halfway. And when I brought this up and I showed it to her, and this is completely 100% animation done in PowerPoint. There's no special effects here. This blew her away. It was her favorite slide. And then back to Microsoft, he got into the department when it was at its lowest satisfaction rating. He was like, why is everyone looking down at the finance department? And so the question was, what went wrong? So what did I do there? I took a full color image. I ghosted it back so it's gray, and then I put some text on top of it. And it's just a simple, like, this is a Hollywood effect, right? You see a full frame image. You don't see any text. We see his eyes. We see his hands. He's sitting on a little raft. Looks pretty precarious, right?
I found this on the web for he's sitting on. Check it out.
Oops. Siri wants to answer my question. I didn't even ask her. Okay. So here's a series of slides that talks about leveraging your time. So if you spend 1 hour talking to a potential client and she buys your product, let's say it's $8,000. Well, you made $8,000 in an hour. But what if you could talk to many people? And of those people that you talk to, maybe 5 of them buy your product. So if 5 people buy, that's $40,000 in an hour. So you want to ask yourself, what is a sales call worth to you? Now, that was telling a story, but it was with a series of slides that told the story. I didn't need to put that whole script in there. I just told a story, like little strings of stories in the slides. So more engaging, right? All right, so our second step is we want to get clear on the outcome. So what do I mean by that? Well, why are you talking? Why are you presenting? Are you showing some numbers to the VPs to say, well, this is how our department did, or this is the trend that's happening, we need to fix it? You know, what is the outcome you want them to have? I want them to walk away knowing where we are today and have a plan for where we want to go in the next 3 months. Okay, so that might be your written outcome. For me, when I stand on stage and I speak to 100 people, I want to get them motivated to, you know there's a better way for slides. And if they're interested, I can help them. So that's my outcome. You know, will they raise their hand? Will they engage with me? That kind of thing. So get clear on your outcome. It could be gaining a new client. If you're pitching your product, if you're using slides to pitch a product, it could be gaining a new client. I worked with a company that was selling products anywhere from $1 to $30 million. So one slideshow could net them $1 million to $30 million. So could you imagine that slideshow could be really important? So here's my client, and he was getting ready to speak to this crowd, and it was early in the morning. He was just feeling the stage, and he was handing off his slides to the crew. And then during his talk, he turned around, took a picture of himself, because he talks about social media. And this is him with his slides. And notice the audience, they're raising their hands, they're engaged. So one outcome is I want my audience engaged. I already got engagements because you guys put yes in the chat. So that satisfied that for me. You might want a line at the end of the stage when you finish and you come down and they start asking you questions. That's another outcome. Or the best outcome is they run to the back of the room and they buy your product if you're selling a product. So he achieved all three, but think about when you talk, think about when they walk away, what you want them to remember. What do you want them to remember 3 weeks from now? What actions do you want them to take? Are you going to follow up with them? Think of those outcomes before you even create your talk. Or if you've already got a talk created, recreate that outcome and then look at your slides and see how can they be better to really make that outcome happen. All right, so number 3 is achieve the Hollywood effect. And what do I mean by that? Well, how does Hollywood make movies? Well, they start with an idea, okay? And then they create the stories. There's little stories throughout the idea of the movie. And then they create a script. And then from the script, once the script is approved, you create storyboards. And storyboards we'll go over in a minute. And then from the storyboard, you start filming. And that's when you create slides. Most people start creating slides before they even created their stories. They have an idea. I need to talk. I need to tell them about this. And then they go to slides. You're missing all this other stuff. And it's like, well, why do I need a script? Well, think of how Hollywood does it. They've been doing it forever. So Hollywood starts with that idea, right? And, maybe the idea is best coach ever. I'm the best coach ever, and then I'm going to create my strings of stories. And so what does that string of stories look like? Well, it might start out like this. I was a college dropout. I went from job to job. I found I was really good at, and I had training and I hung a shingle. So those are the strings of stories that they're going to tell their story, like, from poverty to, loving their work. Okay, so then from the script, you write a script, word for word. I don't recommend that you have to do word for word. I rather just have little strings of stories, or I'm going to tell the story about when I was in 5th grade and my dad said, you'll never make money as an artist. So that would be that story I told. And then I'm going to tell the story when I graduated from college and my second job out of college was working for an event company. So those are the strings of stories you've already heard from me. And then you go to storyboards. And, most people don't draw. In fact, I'm an artist and I don't draw very well either. But you don't have to draw necessarily. I'll show you another way here in a few minutes. But the storyboards is actually the idea of, okay, these are my little stories that I want to tell. What image do I see for myself for this? So think of it this way. I was a college dropout. So we have a picture, of a college student wondering, I can't afford this anymore, whatever they're thinking, right? And then I went from job to job. So I found this image. I actually looked, jumping from job to job, and that image showed up. And then I found I was really good at. So, 2 people collaborating, one's telling someone else about something, probably some business thing, whatever. So I use Post-it notes to create storyboards. And what that looks like is something like this. So I have my ideas and I might just do a little sketch, like what is the Hollywood effect? Or I want to show an authority piece, like I wrote a book, okay? And then create your plan. So what I love too about Post-it notes is you got your 5 steps or whatever, and you can reorder them. All right. So it's like, okay, I want to start with the authority piece first. So they need to know my credibility. And then I want to tell them the plan I'm going to teach. And then I'm going to get into the Hollywood effect. Okay. So, and that animation was a cool animation known as Morph that PowerPoint has. It's really, really cool. I'm going to have to turn my heater off. It just turned on and I can't, it's getting too hot in here. So hang on a second. There we go. All right. So then you start filming. All right. And that means that you can start creating your slides. Now, you may wonder, why are all these people creating slides on a white background? Well, if you've ever opened PowerPoint or any other slide program, the first thing you open is a white background. So it's like, you think, well, that's the way it's done, so I have to do it this way. And it's like, no. There's another way. So you start creating your slides, and then you've created your slides, and now you're ready for that Academy Award. It's time to hit the world stage. You're in Hollywood, you're ready to go. So then the next one is, how do we avoid all the text on the slides? So we're going to tell a story. So this was one of my clients, and he was talking about his early career as a lawyer. And his first child, he called him Mini-Me, was born, and he had the 2 a.m. feedings. And there he sat, he picked up his son and he looked at him in his eyes. And it ended up being his favorite period of his life, those 2 a.m. feedings. And it made him, as a provider, his work so much more valuable. And, you know, why does he bring that up now? So then he starts going into his story. But that's not his baby. That's just a baby, a picture I found, but had really great eyes. And we rotated it. And notice how the eyes came in and started looking at us. That's that limbic messaging. That's that emotional messaging that brings that story to life. You now see that baby as his baby. And that was this whole source for why he does the work that he does. And then he gets into the story. He helps chiropractors. And he helps chiropractors from a legal standpoint of getting as much money as they should from injuries, you know, personal injury cases. So here's, you know, running a medical practice isn't easy. We found this image, you know, this chiropractor looks a little frustrated. The patient doesn't look happy. Chiropractors don't know what they don't know. So they don't know about all this legal process. So he's teaching them, right? And then once they learned everything, they feel success and they're glad they learned what he was teaching. And then he was talking about his program where he helps leaders lead. Okay. And then how many of you have heard of the NSA? So NSA is their founding program. I couldn't tell you what they stand for right now. National something. But, you know, it's a ghosted back image. It's got a great visual. So when do you know how to do these, you know, different artifacts? And it's not a lot. It's just how do you string them together to make it really impactful? So you'll notice, you know, there were some light slides with light backgrounds, and we went to blue backgrounds. Now I go into the next slide, which is red. So it kind of just changes it up a bit. And this is our final thing where we talk about finding great images. So this is my sweet spot. We are looking at images all day, every day, and we know where the great images are. And most of the images we use are either free or low cost. And I'm talking low cost anywhere from $1 to $3 an image. So when you're doing a slide and you need 50 images, is $50 really that much when you are realizing the impact this is going to have and the emotional buy-in and that Hollywood effect that's going to really say, wow, thank you for that presentation. That was amazing. So back to Mustafa's hot seat, you know, this was a great image. I just found this image and it just really fit for what he needed. This is my client, Helen Chang, and her talk was called More Credibility with a Book. And if you look, that ghosted back image is an image of a book open, and you see the bindings all tattered. And so what that tells limbically is like, wow, that is a well-read book. If I write a book, I hope my book looks like that. So we're making those judgments and we're getting into the story of what is she talking about? And then she goes into why should you write a book? And then she talks about the credibility and the authority that you get from having a book. And again, there's this book with this tattered binding, but the pages are fanned out like they're flying, you know, so, and then the sun in the background, just, it's really dramatic. And this was a found image. And then this one, discover your heart message. How do you write your book? Well, you discover your heart message. And again, we found this image. She's drawing a heart with light on the beach. It's sunset. And she can talk for 5 minutes on this one slide. And I'm going to look at that slide and think, wow, I remember when we were kids and we lived on the beach and we had so much fun and we went grunion hunting and we had bonfires at night and I loved the sunsets. You know, you start overlapping your own memories with what she's talking about. And when you intertwine those together, you're just going to remember so much more of the story that when you walk away, you're going to remember it much longer and it's going to have a bigger impact on you. And then these are called foundation graphics. So basically the title slides. And this woman talks about how to live well in the wireless world, where G5, the waves, radio waves of G5 or whatever have a negative impact on your health. And so she talks about it and how do you combat that? And then I love this one, turn behavior problems into no problem. She just had text on a slide. And, you know, if you read that, it's like, oh, yeah, that's interesting. But if you're walking through the hall and there were 10 other speakers speaking, and you pass by just the words, would that be compelling enough for you to want to go into that room and listen to the talk? But when you see this picture, it's like, oh my God, that's like the icon that tells the whole story in that one picture. A picture's worth 1,000 words, right? And then this was one of the interior photos, and we put a little text off to the side. So when you find a great image, find an area of the image where you can put a little text if you need to, and make sure it doesn't cover their hands, cover their eyes, cover their face. Try not to cover any body part if you can, because we look at all that part of the body, and we look at their body, way they're standing or sitting, way they're moving their hands or whatever. We formulate an opinion. Obviously, she looks stressed out and frustrated, and the little girl looks really happy and just telling a story. And then know your customer. So I love this because he's got this smile on his face. He's looking right at her in the eyes. And then she's looking down at her hands, and he's handing her this product. And both hands are meeting each other. And then there's all these products on the shelves that are neatly stacked. And I can look at this image for 10 minutes. And the feeling that the two people engaged have for me, it's like, I really am going to understand what it means to know your customer. And I'm going to think, who is my customer? And how can I get a reaction like that with my customer? So again, a great image. And then offer your customers something they value. Well, clearly she values shopping. And I love this image because it's colorful. She's got this bright face. She's got these pink lips that match the bag color. It's just a great image. And notice how the text is off to the slide and how it tapers around her hand. So the length of the first line, the second line, third line actually create a taper that wraps around the edge of her body. That's a high-level design technique I'm sharing with you. And then this one, effective communication is what is remembered and acted upon. So that's the title. And then they gave me these 4 bullets. I'm like, how can I convey this slide without using bullets? Well, you must entertain, you must engage, you must inform, and you must have a call to action. Now, I saw this image and I go, this is the perfect image. And then I saw how these little call outs will work. So I know when I get the slide and the bulleted and I ask them, what are you saying here? Then I find that image that's the perfect image and how I lay it out. And you don't always have to put the title on top. You can put the title on the bottom. There's no law that says the title must be on top. There's no art police that's going to come get you. And then this slide, I love it. Speak the language of the customer. So it is a white slide, and it's okay. You haven't seen a lot of white slides, but it does kind of wake you up a little bit. But you look at her eyes. We go right to her eyes, her beautiful brown eyes, her perfect teeth, her great smile, her great face. And then I took the color of her brown eyes and brown hair and used that as the color for the text. So there's a congruency there. Very simple. I have the text in all caps. On rare occasions, I would use all caps. I don't recommend it for all text. If you're going to have a text-heavy slide deck, don't do all caps. It slows down readability. Okay. So I hope you have learned something valuable today, and I hope slides look a little different for you. And I hope you saw access to how you can improve your own slide presentations. We all want to be a rock star, don't we? Someone on a budget get knockout images for slides. Yeah, there's places to get free images. Yes. So Helen Chang was my client, and she helps people write their book. And I worked on her slides for 30 days. We had a month because she got asked to speak on the stage, and she was scared to death, even though we were both in the same mastermind learning how to speak on stage. But once we finished her slides, and I made her practice every day. I said, if you're only speaking for 30 minutes, you can practice once every day and record it and send it to me. And she'd send it to me, and I'd send her feedback. And after about 3 days, I stopped watching because she kept doing it. So all I need to know is she's practicing. And after about 2 weeks, I would watch her live, and I'd look at how she's using the slides. We'd make edits to the slides, that kind of thing. So she got really grounded and really comfortable with her talk. And when she got up on stage, she rocked it. And I don't know, the connection with the audience was great. She didn't make a lot of sales on that first one. There was only 75 people in the room. She made about $6,000, but she got asked back. And on that second stage, to 300 people, she made $72,000 in a 30-minute talk. And that just blew her mind. And that's a game changer. And those slides she uses over and over again. So, when you have all the elements to put it together so that you can really connect with your audience, it does amazing things. So imagine you're sitting in front of your computer and you're working on your slides, and now you have the process. You've already done your outline, you've created your scripts and your storyboards, and now you can start creating your slides and finding those great images and deciding where to put text and stuff. It really is a simple process. And everyone who came here today and those who didn't make it, but you signed up, you'll get a recording of this so you can watch through this again. And I will be providing outline of these slides for you, so that will get emailed to you. But designing impactful slides so that they captivate and convert, they will help you sell your products or services, or even sell your ideas. So I like to revisit again that stepping stones across the river. So what is it going to take? Well, it's going to take the wow factor. It's going to take those connections with your audience, and it's going to take those conversions. And from that, you're going to get the higher sales and bigger impact. So I hope that you learned something. I have time for questions. I have lots of time for questions. So if you have any questions, put it in the Q&A. And then there's my contact information. I will drop this in the chat. If you want to reach out to me, if you have questions. I have a YouTube channel there. There's lots of free content in there. Let me go to the YouTube slide here. So youtube.com/Bridget Callahan. There's no D in Bridget. And I've got other talks that I've given. I've got some trainings in there, and just a lot of fun stuff. And I'm starting to create a playlist of speaker assets, how to make yourself a better speaker. So with that, I'm going to go back to my contact slide here and then answer some questions. So someone said they weren't seeing other engagement in the chat. Okay, yeah. So if you're writing in the chat, I think most of the engagement was host to panelist, and they may not have the ability to go for everyone. But check in your chat, if you go to the top where it says host and panelist, can you scroll down and see if you have the everyone? If you can send a message to everyone. Only hosts. Okay, that's a bummer. But I saw your chat. Okay, so another question. What about sharing financial reports? Oh, wow. I've got some great examples of financial reports. I've actually worked on a slide deck for the VP of PayPal, and they were showing financials from other companies that did really well the year before. And PayPal had done really well that last year, and they were trying to let them know that we can continue to do better and keep rising up. So it's showing those financial reports and showing bar charts or whatever, or a line graph. How do you show it compellingly? You don't want to put all those numbers there. They just want to see, okay, they were here, there's different ways to do it. And then Michael, thank you. And then what about more complex models with many parties? How do you show the interactions? Complex models with many parties. Are you talking about people? Not sure. This was Ayeko asked that in the question in the Q&A. Let me check on the chat over here. So I actually have a report that I can give you that has a list of the image banks. If you want to email me, I can send that. I can share that with you. Okay. Or you could just Google it, say free image banks. Okay. And then low cost image banks, how to find great images. Just, I say Google because I use Google all the time, but Bing and all those other search engines will do the same thing. So let's see. I'm going to stop share so you can see me. And I can see the chat better. Okay, so no, I lost the chat. Where did it go? Oh, it tied back up here. Okay. So another question. Okay, here we go. Okay, so Ayoko says many organizations. complex models of many organizations. I'd really have to see it to comment on how it's done. I mean, with 30 years of slide design under my belt, there's many different ways to convey information, and complex stuff is actually excites me because, you know, it may be complex, but what if we simplified it and showed it to them and dished it up to them so that it's like, wow, no one's ever showed it to me that way before. Now I completely understand. That's the power of really understanding how to convey information and serve it up to them. Sort of like, you know, you see on those high-end television shows, you know, PBS or something, how they convey complex stuff. How do they do that graphically? You're welcome. And then what would you say is the best way to prepare for a 2-minute business pitch that includes slides? Keep it short, right? You don't need a ton of slides. What I would say is in that 2-minute pitch, what do you want them to remember? What do you want them to walk away with? And then focus on that slide. That would be your most important slide. I mean, a 2-minute pitch could be like you're talking about a product, and say, if you're talking about a product, it's not like how great your product is compared to others. It's like, what's the audience going to get out of your product? You know, the user, what's the benefits they're going to get? Start with the benefits and let them know, this helps you with this, or this is going to shorten your time with this, or whatever. That would be my suggestion. And then the slides would support what you're saying, and then just really round out what that thing is. Again, you know, these are general questions. When I work with a client, I look at their slides, I ask them a bunch of questions like, well, what are you saying here? What's the most important point here? What do you want them to walk away with? And I ask them, what do you want them to remember? And a lot of them go, I want them to buy my product, or I want them to put my product on their shelves. I was like, okay, great. And so then we'll go deeper on that. Hope that answered that question, Magdalena. All right, can you tell us how to find the wonderful image you used, like that chair? You know, it's so funny, but I start with Google and I go comfortable chair or hot seat or whatever, and then I click on images in Google where you can see the images, and then I see a bunch of images. And I said, ooh, that one looks good. Now, where can I buy that image, or where can I procure that image? Because you do not want to grab images off the internet and think you can use them in your slides. You can't. You might get away with it, but it's no integrity. And if you get stuck, like some of the great images are from Getty Images, and Getty finds out, they're going to sue you, or they're going to send you a huge bill. I had a client that got a $500 bill for a little tiny image that was on her website. So, and she thought everything was fine because her web person put it on there, but her web person didn't pay for it. And because it was her web person, she's responsible. So you want to find the images with integrity. And so one program that I use to help find images is, I have to look on my browser here. It's a program that once you find an image, actually you can use Google too, to say, where else does this image exist? And it'll show you the photo banks that have that image. But what I use is, that's not it. Gosh, I can't think of it right now. Sorry. It's one of these little known programs. I'm looking on my list. I got too many icons here. TinEye, TINEYE.com. Okay. And what that does is you can upload an image, and then it'll tell you everywhere where you could purchase that image from, image banks and things like that. Okay. So I'm trying to get too much on one page. Yes, that's a very typical problem that most people think is, you want to think in the audience, do they need to see all that text? Because what happens is, if all that text is on a slide, they're compelled to read it. And so when they start reading it and you're talking, then you're annoying them. And so that doesn't create a good connection. That creates, you know, tension, the wrong kind of tension. Like, I don't want to listen to you anymore. So you saw my slides. I was telling stories to each of the slides. You didn't need text on there to say, oh, I'm talking about a baby here. You saw it's a baby. And I was telling a story about a baby. So as you get better at this, you'll find the less words, the better. And if you have a bunch of bulleted text and you need to have little bits of text, you know, to refer you to each one, put one bullet per slide. have an image or have something that conveys that bullet so that they can remember it limbically. That would be my suggestion. Another one is if you have to have all those bullets on a slide, then reveal them. And as you reveal the next one, the previous one goes gray. So it ghosts back so that they're not focused on all of those lines at the same time. What are the fourth and fifth letters of your email after the @ symbol? So my email, I put it in the chat. Maybe you didn't get it because I didn't have all attendees. Let's see. Yep, I didn't put it in for everybody. So here we go. Everyone. So my email is wow@presentationdesignexpert.com. Thanks for asking, Michael. Okay, you see it there. Good. Then Christy asks, are you still using your screen? I can't see anything. No, I'm not sharing my screen anymore. And the other picture you see is Pete's screen. He's off camera. He's the one facilitating our talk here. So so that was the Q&A. Does anyone else have any other questions? Let's see. Tineye. Okay, TINEYE. TINEYE.com is this cool little program that helps you to find images where you can procure those images, like from image banks and stuff. Pixabay, Pexels are a couple of free ones. Unsplash is what a lot of the advertising agencies use. Read the fine print. They want you to attribute who took that photo, but that doesn't mean you have to put the picture, the attribution on the slide. You just put it in the notes area. So if someone says, wow, I really like that image of the baby. Is that your baby? I said, no, I got that from Unsplash. Here, let me give you the guy's name. So you can attribute it to them. I mean, they're giving you the stuff for free, but at least give them credit. Okay. I think that's fair. You know, artists have to make money too. All right. Well, I guess I went kind of fast. I finished early. I hope you guys got some value, and I would love to know how your slides are going. Please email me, ask questions. I'm always available. And yes, citations are required, correct. Slides can be fun. I watch TV. I love watching TV, and I see animations like on the morning news. And I'm like, oh, how can I do that in a slide? And yes, I do offer workshops that share more about this and stuff. And if you want to learn more about it, just email me and I'll share with you, Robin. And so, you know, I also do other graphic design, working on a couple of logo designs for some clients right now. And then working on a big slide deck for a webinar that's coming up in the middle of January, and was in a meeting with the speaker that's going to be speaking, and he had a couple of high-powered executives in there. One was the founder of a major corporation. I'm not going to mention it, but it's just like, wow, okay, I'm like rubbing elbows with some pretty high-level people. I like that. I want to have a game changer of how we look at slides. I want to, like I said, create that Hollywood effect where people are wowed and appreciate the time that you spent, and will really remember you because you will stand out from the rest of the speakers. John Pietro is one of the mentors for SCORE, and he helps with marketing and sales. And he uses, I do all his slides, and he's given talks outside of SCORE with his slides. And I'll put it in the chat, Steve, my company name. And he was speaking at UCI, and this scientific, I think a physics teacher or something walks. I've never seen slides like that. Where'd those come from? And so he gave me her name, but she never reached out. It's unfortunate because I would love to, you know, really infiltrate all the tech people, who just really don't have the wherewithal for creating slides, but they have so much information to purvey to people, especially doctors. I just started working with a couple of doctors in the East Coast, and they both retired, but one was the head of John Hopkins for a while, their surgery center. And so he speaks all around the world. And I'm really excited because once we finish his slides and he starts presenting, it's going to be a game changer of like, they'll see, wow, that's what a good slide looks like. And if we can just have this wave of great design go out through the world, imagine the impact, of people are really engaged, people appreciate that connection is better, the conversions are better. I talk too much. It's kind of hard to, because I can't hear your voices, but I really appreciate you guys being here today. Again, there's lots of trainings through SCORE, so be sure to go back to SCORE and check out the other trainings they have. And I speak on their stage probably at least once a month. So medical imagery, horribly expensive. Yes, you're correct. It is horribly, a lot of those agencies, they pay big money for that, but they use them, and it's because they make a lot of money, like the pharmaceutical companies or the medical device companies. I don't know of a site that has less expensive imagery, but keep searching, because I did find a couple of them. And I know like Adobe Stock has some good ones. It also depends on what words you put in the search to find them. Do you offer in-person workshops? I would absolutely love to do in-person workshops. I haven't had an opportunity to do that yet. So if you have someone in need, I would love to do that. And creating slides that wow, yes, the wow factor. So again, thanks again for coming. You'll get a survey at the end of this. Would love your comments. How can we make this better? We're always looking to up level. So I thank you again. And I guess we can call it quits. Just save the chat here. You're welcome, Gail. You're welcome, Bridget. Hope to see you soon. So Pete, you want to let us out?